I haven't been on in about a week or so, and the reason for that is I had the flu real bad. My throat was destroyed. It was hard to swallow. I couldn't talk. Just everything was a mess. So luckily, I'm back in a position to be making videos, and I'm happy I got better as quick as I did. A lot of people I know are still out that have had this thing for like 2 weeks. So let's move on. I want to talk about something really important. The difference between becoming good at something to do with music and becoming good at almost everything else is that it's really easy to determine what it is you want to focus on in most other things. Like, for example, if you're going to be a boxer, you're studying boxing. Yes, there's offense, there's defense, but you're just thinking about training to be a boxer, being a boxer, working on all the different aspects of being a boxer on a daily basis. The difference when it comes to that and something like making music is there's so many different facets of music, different compartmentalized skill sets that are not the same thing. And they're not involved in the same scope of work on the pro level. So when you think about being a great basketball player, there's different aspects to the game, but Kobe wakes up every day when he was alive and thinking about basketball. Michael Jordan woke up every day thinking about basketball. These guys, nothing but one thing. Whereas people who are interested in music, especially people who came to it kind of like me, which is you wanted to record your own stuff because it was a way for you to get all the ideas you have and all the songs you have out into the world. But it's not just enough to learn how to engineer and record. If you don't have any idea how to mix, it's not going to sound good. It's not just about the mixing. What about producing? Deciding what to do in what context, where and when, that's separate from engineering, separate from mixing. Producers are their own thing. Then you got mastering engineer. So not only do you have to be good at recording it, knowing what parts to play where and what complements what without getting this idea that everything you come up with is a great idea. And then the third thing, being a great person who knows how to mix it, then someone who knows how to listen to the overall product and just make any fine-tuned adjustments so that it works on most playback systems. So these are all different skill sets on the pro level. So as a result, what winds up happening when you're someone like me is you have to focus on all of them. What that does is it makes you very good at none of them. It makes you okay at a lot of different things. And it takes way longer to get to be someone who's really good at all of those things. There's no way around it. Whereas someone like Serban comes to mind because he was focused and dedicated at being an amazing mixer. So this meant when he built his room, he focused on what to do to build the room for mixing. When he's waking up every day trying to get better at his craft, it's what to do for mixing. He's not focused on engineering, recording bands, producing things. He's mainly focused on mixing for a large, large portion of his career. That's what his focus is. So it's easier on his brain. He's not pulled and pushed in all these different directions. He's not swayed by these different ideas of what he should do today. People like me who start with their own stuff in mind, we're trying to do everything. I'm sure you may be in this category too. You're trying to write the best song and also record it the best and also mix it the best and also master it the best while being the best producer you can be on your own stuff. And what you wind up doing is spreading yourself super thin. You make it where if you're really bad at one of these things, the rest of it goes out the window. I've said this before, but there's no easy fix for this. And it's not something where, if you have the best song ever, but a terrible mix, it's like, what makes you think people are going to actually be able to hear the best song ever? It might be overshadowed by something that sounds terrible in just the mix itself. Like if you put way too much low end in a mix, it's really hard to hear everything else live. Everything else sounds smaller. And as a result, the mix sounds smaller. Now, if the song's good enough, maybe some people would say mix doesn't matter. What I would actually say is the less dense it is. In other words, the less stuff you put in there, the easier it is to mess the mix up and have the song still sound good enough where people could hear it. Now, that good enough thing, that's the thing that makes us crazy also, is like, what's good enough? Where's the bar where once it sounds this good, we don't have to worry about the picayune little details messing up what people are hearing? That unknown, where is the bar, is so destructive mentally, because we'll work and tweak and keep making another mix revision, another mixer, new mix, new. We'll keep doing that because that unknown drives us crazy. And the last thing we want in our minds is to be one mix revision short of where people can hear it and judge what it is they're hearing without a bad mix getting in the way. So it's very different in almost every sport. Let's look at, I mean, if you look at basketball, for example, if you miss 80% of your shots, you know you got to work on shooting. In a mix, since so much of everything you do is millions of decisions and all opinion, it's really hard to determine if you are making the right decisions or not, because the ball doesn't just brick off the hoop. It actually is like, is this good or is it not? I like it. Then 10 people tell you they like it. Then 5 tell you they don't. Is it good? Is it not? It's this weird unknown that drives people crazy. And what I think is the big tip, if I want to give you some takeaway other than just a rant here, the big tip is to focus on one of these things. Now, this is what's so hard for people who do this for themselves. It's really hard for someone who's trying to make their song sound good, doesn't want to hire anyone else, and works on every part themselves. It's really hard for them to just do one thing. That's the person who's in the most trouble, because the one who's trying to do this for other people, you pick the thing that you could be the best at and you work at it and work at it. And at that point, you're focused on being a mixer, for example. You're not focused on being the best producer or the best mastering engineer or the best songwriter. It's easier for you to wake up every day and know what you're supposed to do that day. The people who won't make the decision on what they want to do first and foremost, those are the people that have the most trouble deciding what to do. So what I'm telling you is you almost have to, if you want to get better at any of these things, you have to develop this narrow mindset of, I'm just going to work on this part of it for a long time, until I master it or get to the point where I'm significantly better at it. There's a lot less unknowns. I'm turning knobs because I understand the why. Once you're doing that, you understand the why, and you get much better at it. That's the only time you may be able to look at doing other things too. But if you try to do them all at once, it's going to be very, very hard for you to make any gains. You won't progress. It will take you so long to get better because you're spreading yourself out over all these different jobs that, like I told you, on the pro level, they're all done by different people. So since, I know most of us aren't on the pro level, most of us are not in a position where we can hire a guy to produce it, someone who's going to mix it, someone who's going to master it. I understand all that, but that doesn't mean that what I'm saying doesn't apply. If you want to get to a point where you are the top of your game at something, the best you can be, not talking about as good compared to other people, but the best you can be, you must wake up every day with one goal and not sway from it. And this is coming from someone who is the sway master. I am all over the place in terms of what I want to do on any given day, and I have been for a long time. And it took me years to get to a point where I recognize this and can tell you that I would be way better off if I were to focus on one thing. More dedicated focus to one thing. For example, just mixing, rather than learning how to do a lot of things on the engineering end and the production end and the mixing end and mastering. If I were just focused on one thing, because also songwriting plays into this, but what I'm saying is just the one thing, like mixing, would have gotten me a lot further by now. So part of what I do is relay to you guys things that I think would be helpful, that I am going to focus on more, and also to just help you with your decision making. Because more than anything else, that what should I do today wastes time. The what should I do today, when you start down a path and realize you shouldn't be doing this, wastes time. And the last thing we have is time. For so many of us, this is something we do because we have to. We're drawn to it and there's no choice. We can't do anything else. We know this is what when I say can't, this is our soul. This is who we are. We may not be sure of a lot of things in this world, but the thing we know is that this is who we are. As a result, it's destructive to not see progress in something you know is who you are. So in order to see progress, you've got to hear what I'm saying and let it sink in. Everybody wants to do everything. You got to pick the one thing and get better at that. And trust me when I tell you, it may sound like, oh, I have to hire out these other jobs. If you want to progress at whatever it is you've decided to become as great as you can be at, yes, you should. Don't look at it as a negative. Look at it like teamwork makes the dream work. Build your team. Find some people that you can work with that work with your budget and who you are, your schedule, how you want to do it. Maybe you could work something where you do for them and they do for you in some other aspect, but don't try to do everything yourself. Believe me when I tell you, that's the biggest, fastest way to get discouraged. And then once you're discouraged, it's really hard to keep going. And all you have to do is get better every day than you were yesterday. And when you pick one thing, like Kobe picked basketball, Jordan picked basketball, Tyson picked boxing, you pick one thing, you allow yourself to become great. When you're spread out, you don't. You don't. And I'm going to leave you with that. All right? Let me know what you guys think. Hit up the comments. I understand a lot of us just do this for fun. And what I'm telling you is it would be more fun if you were even better at the thing you love doing for fun. And in order to do that, focus on the one thing. Figure out who's going to do the roles of these other things. And you will get much better. And you will enjoy it more. All right? Leave a comment. I really appreciate it. Everybody who's dealing with the fires in California and everything, my heart goes out to you, because that is devastating. And I cannot even imagine that happening to me. And, everyone who's dealing with that, keep your head up. And that is an awful tragedy, and my heart goes out to you guys. So I'll talk to you guys soon. This is Evan Jaffe, Custom Cut Studios. You guys got this. Take it easy.